First fight of the night, we have Cohen versus Vidal. Simple pick here. Vidal has a knockout in the UFC. Cohen has only fought in the Contender Series. Also, Vidal is a Brazilian, and in these early fights with women's MMA, you have to bet on the Brazilian. Moving on to the next fight. Altamirano versus Salvador. This is also a pretty easy pick. We got the younger fighter here in Salvador. He has 13 knockouts. Altamirano is strangely old for what he looks like. He looks like a 15-year-old. But I'm going to have to go with Salvador here. He has 13 knockouts. I think he's going to get it done. The line is still pretty good. That's going to change a lot before fight night. We're going to be looking at more of a minus 200. Next fight. Torres versus Ogden. This is a weirder one to pick. Torres is the favorite because of his striking. He knocked out Frank Camacho in his last fight, but that's Frank Camacho. Trey Ogden has a very good... Trey Ogden, on the other hand, his wrestling's really good. He's very good at stopping really active strikers, and I think that's what's going to get him to the win here, and we can get the easy plus money here. He's going to wrestle him, easily going to win by decision. He's not going to stop him. Moving on to the next fight. CJ Vagaria versus Daniel Lacerda. Daniel Lacerda loves to run into people's knees, loves to get choked by people. He's lost to some of the worst fighters in the flyweight division. I don't see how CJ Vagaria doesn't get this one done. I don't think CJ Vagaria is that good of a fighter. These odds are god-awful. Don't bet on this fight, but I'm going to be betting on this fight because I'm a degen. Next fight. Trevin Giles versus Preston Parsons. Preston Parsons has fought no one good in the UFC. I don't understand why this line is so tight. As you can see, it's a pick'em odds. Trevin Giles is going to win this fight. He has beat Dricus du Plessis and a lot of other really good fighters. No idea why these odds are like this. Hammer Trevin Giles here. Steven Peterson versus Lucas Alexander. No clue why this fight also has these odds. Steven Peterson should be well over a minus 250 in this. Lucas Alexander got steamrolled in his first fight in the UFC. And Steven Peterson is just way better in every aspect. He's probably going to take him down constantly, probably going to beat him up on the feet. He'll probably get this done within the first 2 rounds. No idea why this line looks like this. You need to hammer it. Daniel Pineda versus Tucker Lutz. This one's a little bit harder to pick. I've heard a lot of people talk about how Pineda has not that good a cardio. Also, ESPN, why do we not have a picture of him? He has fought like 4 times in the UFC. Get it together. The next thing I want to point out is Tucker Lutz has pretty good wrestling, nothing special. He also has no idea how to finish a fight, so I don't understand these odds at all. These are just crazy odds for Tucker Lutz. I'm going to take him here. I'm going to take him by decision. Moving on to the next fight. Here we go. We're on to the main card here with Chidi Njokuani and Albert Duraev. Duraev is one of the worst Dagestanis out there. He cannot wrestle. He cannot really strike. He barely wins fights. So I'm going to go with Chidi here. My big issue with Chidi is he has pretty good takedown defense, but once he's taken down, he just gets sat on for an entire round. He does not know how to get up. I really hope Chidi knocks him out in the first round. That's what I hope is going to happen. But we're moving on to the next fight here. Alex Perez versus Manel Cape. This one is hard to pick. I understand the odds here, and I kind of agree with them. Manel Cape has been finishing all the flyweights that no one else has been able to finish. And Alex Perez hasn't fought in a while. He hasn't been successful since his fight with Husier Formiga. And I just don't see how he's going to win this besides heavy wrestling. But Manel Cape's wrestling defense is really good. So I'm going to go with Manel Cape here, and we're moving on to the next fight. KGB Lee versus Macy Barber. This fight is pretty easy to pick. Andrea Lee is old as dirt. She's like 35 years old. Macy Barber is young. She's a pretty good fighter. Sometimes she fights ghosts and just jabs some random person in the middle of the octagon. But I'm going to go with her on this fight. I think she's going to win by decision because she's never finished anyone in her whole career. And the judges tend to like her. If you ever watched her fight with Miranda Maverick, she did nothing the entire fight and still won. Moving on to the next fight. Nathan Train Landwehr versus Austin Lingo. Here's our sacrifice of the card. Nate Landwehr is going to murder Austin Lingo. He hasn't fought since 1892. And yeah, this is a sacrifice. Hammer Nate Landwehr here. Holly Holm versus Santos. This is the most simple pick on the entire card. Santos just had a kid that never works out for any female MMA fighter. Pick Holly Holm here. Bet on her. Moving on to the next fight. In the main event, we have Marlon Vera versus Corey Sandhagen. This is a very simple fight to pick. Marlon Vera has fought no good competition. He fought a 100-year-old Dominic Cruz and almost lost that fight if he didn't knock him out. He fought a 300-year-old Frankie Edgar and kicked him in the face. He almost lost to Davey Grant, who just about lost and got a point taken away against Rafael Assunção. I don't see how anyone could not pick Corey Sandhagen here. The only way he loses this is if he gets kicked by some random shit at the end of every round and ends up losing it, or gets knocked out in the end. You have to hammer Corey Sandhagen here. Thanks, guys.